if we can help share the story to younger and younger and younger people and moms, pregnant moms. So, and so the mothers that are eating a standard global diet are damaging their children, and they're damaging the eggs, and the guys are damaging their sperm. So by going carnivore, fatty meat, it will build better sperm, better eggs, better embryos, better implantation. Your children will be born with a lower risk of all the diseases we have. And we're blaming our DNA on these problems, but it's not the DNA. It's the environment that we're putting into this miracle machine.
Work, work to go and earn my pay. Work, work, boots on and lace them up.
All right. Carnivore Soldier coming at you from Austin, Texas. Today we got a very special guest, Dr. Kiltz, the carnivore doctor. He's a great guy. He's a fertility specialist, has a lot of great theories and background in carnivore, and he's a practicing carnivore as well. I'm going to bring him in, let him introduce himself. Hey, Dr. Kiltz, how's it going?
Larry, fantastic. It's a beautiful day, and I'm really appreciate the invitation and sharing the ideas of a carnivore lifestyle.
Yeah, it's definitely worth sharing because it's not going to get it from the media, so we better get it out the way we can.
Your media, the doctors, it really is a hidden gem that it's so important what you're doing to soldier on and share it with people to build the knowledge, because you're not getting it from standard, and there's such a push that meat causes all the problems, and that's our journey.
Yeah. So why don't you just tell us about yourself real quick? And one thing I'm kind of interested in too, because you are an MD and you're a fertility guy, right? So
Yes.
when did you become a carnivore, and how did that happen? Like, it wasn't immediately, right? So you've been an MD for a while before you became carnivore.
Well, let's see. So born and raised in Los Angeles, I graduated high school in 74, undergrad USC in 1980. I went to UC Davis Medical School, 81 to 85. I did a year of internal medicine in Los Angeles, and then I switched over to OBGYN, and I finished my residency in OBGYN in Colorado in 1990. And then I practiced for a year at Kaiser in Sacramento, and someone called me and asked if I wanted to do a fellowship in reproductive medicine. And it really wasn't something I was looking to do at the time. And again, I'm a standard doctor. I'm a surgeon. I take care of women, obstetrics, gynecology. I did a fellowship in reproductive medicine, IVF, in Los Angeles, Harbor UCLA, 91 to 93. And then I practiced in Northern California a couple of years, and then I moved to upstate New York, standard OBGYN, fertility specialist, taking care of all the standard things that everyone's going through. I started my business, CNY Fertility, back in 97. And as I was building my business, I was coming across a lot of frustration as to why are people getting sicker? Why was I getting sicker? Because I developed arthritis, psoriasis, bowel bleeding, kidney stones, migraines, depression.
Yeah.
And about 25 years ago, I was doing a ton of Atkins. I was a big exerciser to be healthy, but I was breaking down. The body was falling apart. And I integrated acupuncture and meditation and those sort of things in my practice. And some of my patients were doing this diet called paleo diet. So at CNY Fertility, we integrated Eastern medicine, and my patients were getting pregnant on a nutritional plan that I have never heard of. So anytime I hear of something that helps people conceive and deliver a baby naturally or with fertility treatments, I want to learn about it.
Right.
And I'm a really big, I read all the science. I was really straight, the science knows the answers, and diet doesn't matter, and all those things. And then as I read about paleo, I started doing it myself, because I said, there's something I got to understand about nutrition that I don't know. And then I fell into keto. But around that same time, I read a book by Thomas Seyfried, Cancer is a Metabolic Disorder. There are a number of other people that I was running into. Maria Emmerich was learning about keto. And then I saw some guy doing carnivore about 13, 14 years ago. And the guy was ripped. He didn't exercise, and he never felt better in his life. And that's when I said, you know what? This looks interesting. I love steak. I went right for it. In 1 month, my bowel bleeding, arthritis, kidney stones, and migraine gone.
Yep.
And from there, I dug deeper and I began to blog, talk about it, write about it. I mostly focused on keto rather than carnivore because carnivore is just like, that's way over there. But I was doing it. And it's now to me, like nutrition is number one. Carnivore is the top of the line. Fatty meat should be our mainstay. And you minimize any plants. And keto's okay, but it's just run of the mill nowadays to me. And so I'm just thrilled to meet so many people like yourself that are on this journey. We're all learning together.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how I'm here, meeting new people, inspired by the stories. And I've seen so many people on keto, mostly carnivore, suddenly get pregnant, better eggs, better sperm better, sex better. Everything's better on this lifestyle and this life plan.
So here's the story. We had a hard time getting pregnant when I was married. I'm not married anymore, but my ex and I did. And we found a fertility specialist, and thankfully he was a good guy. He didn't try to get us to do ovarian, the big expensive stuff. He said, well, he took her blood and he said, let's try, what's the drug they give the diabetics? Metformin. Let's try metformin. It's cheap, $35. Okay, we'll try metformin. Boom, she's pregnant in 4 weeks. And it's like, Doc, do we have a metformin deficiency? Is that what's going on?
We have mostly glycation and damage to the liver. And exactly what metformin does to help people get pregnant, I don't know that we know the answer, other than it probably helps lower glucose levels. And glucose levels glucose is an agent that's required in our body. It's never required to be eaten, and it damages every cell of our body. And being infertile is just another one of the diseases that sugar causes if you eat it too frequently or excessively.
And sugar being plants, bread, everything we eat, other than meats and eggs, and right?
Well, sugar is in everything, including meat and eggs and fat. Right. But plant sugars, so plants are carbon dioxide, water, and sunlight that makes a long chain carbon particle called sugar. So lettuce, fruit, vegetables, seeds, nuts, they all break down to sugar. And so it's the combination of eating too frequently and too high of a plant-based diet and too low of a fat diet. And when I say fat, we're talking about animal fat.
Right.
There's no such thing as plant fats. They're plant oils, and they're all industrially produced. They're all processed foods that we should likely minimally or never consume.
Yeah, I wish and I hope, maybe we can get a movement on this, but I wish and hope someone would make a documentary like the food industry documentaries we've seen that are really revealing about vegetable oils. Because I've worked in refineries, and I can tell you what, there's nothing green about any kind of refinery. They're still cracking hydrocarbons. They are messy, nasty. They're terrible. And they make just toxic. I don't care if you're making gas oil or plastics or you're making seed oil. It's all the same. And some of those we do need. We do need fuel if we're going to live outside of caves. And we do need plastics to have modern lifestyle. But we don't need seed oil. That's one thing we could get rid of, all those plants that are built, and we wouldn't miss it.
Well, and if you look at palm oil, okay, now the world has been decimated, the jungles of the world decimated because of our agriculture, planting palms for palm oil, planting cane for cane sugar, planting cotton, wheat, tobacco. I mean, we could go down the list of our production of plants, which is also ultimately causing the climate problems of the world, because the way we've created our food source, which is not our natural food source, which was animal-based, not plant-based. But we didn't know this. I'm not here to blame anyone, because blaming anyone doesn't help solve the problem. We just are working to say, hey, listen, an animal-based diet may help more and more people than you know, and it reduces inflammation. And so many of the diseases that we're seeing in this world are secondary to a plant-based consumption and a low animal fat. Although the belief in the general medicine and science and healthcare is that plants are good for you and fat is bad for you.
Yeah.
That's really the story.
Paid for by the Seventh-day Adventists and whoever else built that.
Well, if you
narrative.
think about religions overall, they're plant-based. It really was creating an agricultural, agrarian-based lifestyle that fed people bread and beer. The pharaohs, the Egyptians, the pyramids. If you think of the plant, the food pyramid, for thousands of years they realized that if I feed them bread and beer, I will control them.
Right. That's why the Romans did the same thing. Romans did exactly the same thing. Hand bread out in the square.
Right. And so you had to control the food source.
Yeah.
You had to have plenty of grains.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, heroin, cocaine, marijuana, nicotine, caffeine, alcohol, they're plant addictive substances. So essentially, the challenge for all of us is we're addicted to plants, and the plants know it.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. My son's a carnivore, by the way. The one we had a hard time getting. He's 14 now. He went carnivore last summer. And because he wanted to be a better athlete, because he started running cross country and track. He'd always been subpar cross country track runner, but this year, every race was a PR. He placed his first race ever on the team, which is a top 5 finish. And he beat guys he's never beat before. And then he had a soccer season. And the last week of the soccer season was a tournament. He played 3 games and didn't sub out once. And he came to me and said, "Dad, I didn't get tired." And I'm like, yeah, I can't imagine what it'd be like being a kid and going carnivore all the way. It's going to be amazing for him.
I mean, it's a little harder at 67 than it was at 17, no doubt about it. Even at 55, I was better than I am now at 67, although I feel fantastic. But I know that my strength and energy, but I also, I don't want to wear down the Ferrari. It's gonna be in the junkyard eventually. And I just want it to kind of be like this thing that goes like this and then boom. And that's it. But it is, if we can help share the story to younger and younger and younger people and moms, pregnant moms. So the mother,
huge,
right on. And so the mothers that are eating a standard global diet are damaging their children, and they're damaging the eggs, and the guys are damaging their sperm. So by going carnivore, fatty meat, and I say less meals in a day, but that's a whole nother story depending on where you're at in your physique. Yeah. But it will build better sperm, better eggs, better embryos, better implantation. Your children will be born with a lower risk of all the diseases we have. And we're blaming our DNA on these problems, but it's not the DNA. It's the environment that we're putting into this miracle machine.
We're damaging the mitochondria is what we're doing, and keeping it damaged. And that's a big problem.
It is. But I think we're damaging the DNA, the RNA, the ribosomes. We're damaging the mitochondria. We're damaging every single functional area of our cells that are causing our problems. Science is very one-sided. They're over here. They're not looking like this. Yeah. And so I was just at a really great conference with Dr. Gleicher down in New York City. It was really great. But there was no talk on nutrition. There was no talk on alternative things like cold water therapy, red light therapy, faith, positivity, and working in a more positive way with our community rather than a lot of people are afraid to speak up because they get chastised. And human beings naturally get chastised. None of us like that.
One more thing about my son, I was going to bring this up because we were talking about the plants. He had this observation after he became carnivore. He goes, Dad, Eve took a bite of the apple. And he said, maybe that was God telling us it's not good to eat the plants. Yeah. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe, I mean, it might be, I didn't read that into it, but that's pretty cool that you're thinking that way. I like it, but that was kind of interesting.
Well, think about every living organism in the universe They all have a mission to survive and reproduce, all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Plants have been around for millions of years longer than humans. Their evolutionary DNA and RNA and glycobiome, the sugar biome, is working in their favor. They know how to attract you and to repel you.
Yeah.
They know how to make you change their DNA, improve their environmental survival, and then put them away so they survive beyond the Armageddon, which ultimately seeds survive more than anything. And if you think about the oldest organisms on the earth, they're plants.
Yeah. Trees and such. Yeah. I mean, there's.
Yep.
Yeah.
Plants.
Yep.
And so they're living organisms. They feel, they have energy, they attract and repel also. So it's all electromolecular energy, but at the same time, we are highly biased in our belief system. And a lot of it is because for thousands of years, the leaders, the masters have said, don't go to the hunting grounds, don't eat the meat. You're going to work and slave in the fields. We're going to give you a small part of the field. You're going to pay us to be there, and you're going to listen to everything we say. And you're welcome to eat all the bread and beer and wine. And we even tell pregnant women to eat those things and drink wine.
Wow. That's pretty crazy.
It's horrible. It's horrible. And my job in my lifetime is to share these ideas and stories in a way that we wake up the lions that think they're pigs.
That's a good call. When you were talking about being at that conference, and I'm not talking about positivity and faith, let me tell you what, I'm a retired soldier. When I went to Warrant Officer Candidate School at Fort Rucker, we did a field trip out to Andersonville, the prison. And Andersonville prison is where the POWs were kept in the South. The Yankees were kept down there. And that is where our POW museum is. If you ever get a chance to go, it's amazing. It's the American POW Museum. And, that's one thing that's a common thread of people that made it through being a POW is most of them, no matter how bleak, how bad, how dire it was, most of them basically said that it's their faith that got them through.
Yeah.
And you have to have some kind of faith. And you can also look at Cuba when they imprisoned all the political prisoners down there. They had the ones they called the plantados, which were the ones that would not convert to being a Castro communist. And they stayed in prison. They chose to stay there, and they stayed there for 30 years or so. And those guys had faith in a religion, basically. They had a faith in a higher power that they followed, and they stuck to their guns. And I think it's huge. If you're going to get into a fight, any fight, with your health, with your body, with life in general, with the war, faith is a huge force multiplier, what we call it in the military. It will make you be able to do things that you don't think you can do.
And the more we believe and we have faith in what the good Lord brings us every day, even in the challenges. And I was talking to a client today whose child died at 10 months old. And faith is such a powerful thing for all of us to help us survive the hardships of life, which build us stronger than ever.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Okay, so we kind of went over how you started the carnivore diet. Just a couple questions on. Let me ask you about. There's a lot of criticism out there that there's not a lot of long-term research on the carnivore diet. What do you say about that?
Well, it's the longest research that I've ever seen, because if you look at our evolution, and people like Anthony Chaffee, Sean Baker, and many others have talked about it, that we are biologically more like lions and wolves than we are like pigs, cows, and sheep. Yeah. And so if you're waiting for the modern research scientist to give you the answer, you'll never get it, because they're focused on selling you products or processed things that ultimately are the cause of most of our diseases, in my opinion. I work in the research world as a scientist, and I see it all, and I see the bias that most of the scientists propagate, and they're unwilling to step back and say, well, gee, maybe I haven't thought about that, maybe that's different. So there's only one research experiment that anyone listening or watching needs to do, and they need to do carnivore themselves.
Yeah.
Because if you're waiting for someone else to tell you, it's too late.
And how long do you think it would take for someone to do an experiment on themselves before they could realistically tell if something was working?
2 weeks.
Okay, that's my experience too. I was just curious if that's what as
Well,
a medical doctor, you'd think that would be about the same.
there's nothing wrong with your body in the sense of its structure or physiology. It's poisoned.
Right.
So you have to remove the poisons. And once it takes 1 to 2 weeks. It might take a little bit longer for some people. Once the poisons are out, your body can begin to heal. It may take 2 to 6 months for you to heal many of the diseases. And in some people, they may never heal all the diseases, but in a few weeks, oh my God, your brain, your muscles, your joints, your bowels, you will feel masterfully better.
Now, I've heard people say, I've tried carnivore and it didn't work. What to you are the core principles of a carnivore diet that someone would have to do to get those results in a couple of weeks? What if I was just man on the street saying, I want to try it, I want to get the results in 2 to 4 weeks? What do I need to do, Doc?
You have to listen, you have to read, you have to watch the stories of the carnivores, those that have had success. If you want to learn to be successful, you hang out with successful people in the areas you want to go to, because you're just going to jump in carnivore. Oh, I'm going to eat meat. Oh, I'll eat tenderloin and chicken and turkey. All right, which is missing fat. Keto, paleo, and carnivore are high fat diets. That means at least 50% of the volume should be fat. That's the white stuff, by the way. And fat is not an avocado. It's not seeds and nuts, and it's certainly not plant oils, in my opinion. But I think once you get a chance to listen and learn, go to drkiltz.com, go to carnivoresoldier.com, so many things there. But once you get a little inkling of what it is, you begin to dive in. Now, anything you do by eliminating plants of any significance or frequency will help. Going to a meat-based diet and adding fat, and I call it the baby's way: bacon, eggs, butter, beef, and salt. That's Kiltz's mainstay. Now, you can do the triple BE, which is canned berries, beef, bacon, butter, and eggs.
Yeah.
That's fine too. Or the Lion's diet or the Lion's way, which is steak, salt, and water. I don't care where you're at, but fatty meat, salt water, and I believe eat less frequently.
Yeah.
Now, that's not what you need to start with. I don't care if you eat 3 to 6 meals, fatty meat, salt, and water, make you feel the very best, and start there. But you have to learn a little bit about like bowel movements and constipation.
Yeah.
That you're suddenly not going to need toilet paper much anymore because you're going to poop far less, and you're going to have no more bleeding or bloating.
Yeah.
It's amazing. But I think listening to people online, continuing the story, and if it's not working, don't give up. You got to just dig deeper, in my opinion.
Yeah, because if you're a Homo sapien, it will work because that's the way you're made, right? That's pretty much it. You might have a reaction to pork or to eggs, or hopefully not beef, but some people may. And if you have a reaction to a certain type of meat, you have to find different meat. You can definitely do it.
Every organism has a barcode that says, I'm a human, I'm a cow, I'm a pig, I'm a virus, I'm a bacteria, I'm a yeast. So all organisms have their own barcode. So there are some things that you and I might consume that are less tolerable or more tolerable than others. And those are the things that we have to look at. Or it might be what that animal was raised on, what they ate, which can affect the barcode for that animal that you may have some adverse effects with. But I would say that I don't know if I've never heard of anyone having an adverse reaction to eating beef unless it's psychological.
Yeah.
Now, you can have some psychological, physiological events, but ultimately, no one I've seen ever have an anaphylactic reaction to a ribeye steak.
Michaela Peterson did say that she can't eat aged meat, and that's not the meat itself. That's the aging of it, right? It's the
You're right. Now,
so she has to eat it fresh, which is fine.
Yes, but some people are more sensitive because of their past exposure to certain things.
Right.
And I'm sure she's eating a lot of fat. See, our protein needs are low.
Yeah.
Our protein needs are low. Our fat needs are high.
Right.
Adipose tissue and fat is the only fuel for the body. And inside adipose tissue is every mineral, every vitamin, every amino acid, every simple sugar, every fatty acid that your body requires.
Yeah.
So that's the interesting part to the story. But yeah, some people do well on pork or Iberian ham or beef or bison or elk, or find the thing. If you're not feeling right, you have to adventure. But the most important thing is focus on eating fat.
Right.
That's the most important thing.
So I add a lot of butter to my food just because I think I get grass fed, grass finished. You don't have to, but I do because it's at Costco, so it's easy to get. And I think that helps me get my fat levels up. And I know I can't eat too much because when I do, guess what? I figure it out about 10, 20 minutes later. Your body lets you know.
But we're not, whenever you ate an animal, you didn't eat only fat. Although
Right.
in some parts of the world, you focused on the fat because remember, adipose tissue has all the minerals and vitamins and all the building blocks of your body.
Yeah. And it's funny because when I was growing up, I used to hate fat, and we used to get taught to cut it off the steak and get the lean cuts, a New York strip, and cut all the fat off and just eat the meat. And now a New York strip just does not taste good to me. I want something fattier. I'd rather have a burger or something.
And I make sure I either add more fat, add more butter, add some cheese. I like blue cheese gorgonzola or a little Parmesan cheese sometimes. Yep. And the butter, I think is really amazing.
Yeah, me too. That's a big one for me. Okay, what about nutrient deficiencies in a carnivore diet? I hear about people all this time. You're going to get rickets or you're going to get whatever. What do you think about that? And other than iodine, I don't take anything. So
I don't even take iodine, except once in a while, my wife says, hey, try this iodine, see what it's like. She uses all this stuff. I don't touch any of it in general. But on a carnivore diet, fatty meat diet, I have not seen any deficiencies, heard of them. Ultimately, the deficiencies are all eating a plant-based fortified diet. Remember, most processed food is fortified with minerals and vitamins.
Yeah.
But in fact, there's no evidence that eating that makes you have no mineral or vitamin deficiencies. In actuality, there's very little evidence of mineral or vitamin deficiencies in any diet in our American world. But I think there's lots of diseases that we think are that. Low vitamin D. I don't even know we know the right number for vitamin D if you're not eating a plant-based diet. I have low vitamin D and a low testosterone, yet I feel great. I don't have any vitamin deficient diseases.
Yeah, they're getting that sample too from the whole population. It's all on the standard diet and comparing you to them, which is
correct. Again, I'm not sure in this modern world, just like all the other science we're talking about, we're selling supplements. Yeah. I sell supplements. Yeah. Do you need them? I tell everyone, if you eat a carnivore diet with fatty meat and liver, I bet you need no supplements. But many people don't. Now, do I know you need my supplements? I actually don't know that, but we sell them to everyone because everyone believes that they need them. And we recommend folic acid for women trying to get pregnant. But we should really be telling everyone the baby's diet is what you need to do.
Yeah, someone posted on my Facebook page, I think it was David Charles. I don't know if you know DC Learning to Live, the guy that survived stage 4 cancer twice, blood cancer, and is doing great now.
Yeah.
He posted something that showed the ingredients on formula, and it's horrific. It's like soybean oil is number 1. I mean, it's horrific what we're feeding infants. Horrific.
My daughter was raised on a formula diet. I was raised on a formula diet. I know this from my mom. She didn't breastfeed. My daughter's mother didn't breastfeed. And so, a standard doctor, and I got the formula for free for the first 6 months.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is to addict us to these foods.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And you're right. what we didn't know and what we don't know. But we really need to get back. Everyone was encouraging breastfeeding, but at the same time, you could supplement with formula, which ultimately it's got all the drugs that the baby's going to want that over anything else.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's so strange. It's like back in the turn of the last century, in the 1900s, they were realizing a lot of this metabolic issue. They were realizing the cancer was being fed by sugar. They're realizing, and they were documenting, and they were realizing that the carnivore diet worked. I mean, they did the Bellevue study, right? They did real hard science and were able to show that it worked. And then the war and the depression broke out, and everyone just forgot all that, and all they wanted to do is survive to the next day. And then we rolled into the 50s. Everyone had abundance of everything, and everyone was skinny, and no one had weight problems. And they just dropped. They forgot all that research and all the science that we did.
If you look at Stephenson, Wilhelm Stephenson, if you look at Otto Warburg, if you look at James Henry Salisbury steak, 1850s, it's there, it's old, it's been around, nothing new. We don't need to have another. I was at KetoCon last year. My comment to everyone was like, social media is the new medicine. And everyone's trying to propagate more scientific studies to prove this. I believe, I call it data is doo-doo sometimes. Science can be snake oil. We're working in the same realm. The reason no one's going to believe it is because they're built on the science of money, and money is critical. And the same people that have evolved as the kings and queens and the dictators of the world are the money controllers today.
Yep.
And so the pharaohs, the priests, the pope, the presidents, all this stuff is the money. And it's more about profits than parents, money over mommies and men, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's really sad, but it is. That's the case. And that's why I always say, I tell my son all the time, hey, follow the money. If you hear something, you can see the truth by following the money. Who makes money on this deal? And someone's doing it. Someone's making money. Unfortunately, carnivore, there's no real way to make money unless the beef industry is, and they're struggling. But I did see a video from Sean Baker today talking about how some of the beef industry people saw him on Joe Rogan this week or last week, and they're looking to fund some real studies, which is great. I mean,
we do need, I think it's good to put it out there, because we're like anything else, but you have to fund it. You have to put it out there. But, it's one of those things. Like, we're fighting religions and politics around the world. Has it ever stopped?
Yeah. And so science has already been done too, right? We can point back to the ones you talked about, and it hasn't changed. It's not like, well, that they didn't know what they're doing back then and we do now. But there's something about contemporary studies that I think people accept more readily, maybe.
I think so too. And so I think it's critical that Sean and others work with the meat industry. I've had conversations with them. Phil Avati has invited me to do something with them coming up in next year. Is the more we talk about this, the more people we see. And like your young son, I think more and more young men are going to be looking at it. And you can't fight pigs, they love mud. What you want to do is focus on the positive, what we have to offer in this carnivore world. And men and women, I think, will see that. I even had a vegetarian today say to me, well, Dr. Kiltz, if eating meat will get me a baby, I will eat meat.
That's awesome. Hey, that's the answer it has to have. It just needs to change that from making a baby to get me healthy to whatever. Then that's the sentence we need to implant in people. Let them figure that out, that eating meat will do all those things. Absolutely. It makes you, if your body can actually function like it's meant to, and it's not fighting inflammation from chronic exposure to poisons 24/7. Yeah, it's amazing, because that's what's happened, right? That's why my body is like completely, I'm back down to the weight I was in college. It's insane. And I don't work out very much.
I do my 100 push-ups a day now. Nice. And just because it keeps me moving, I do some bike riding and nothing else. I used to be a crazy man, but you're right. When you do carnivore, you don't need all that other stuff. And I have to imagine our ancient brothers and sisters weren't saying, hey, I'm going for a run. I'm going to go lift up some heavy boulders, right? Your body naturally has the muscles, and all you have to do is use them. And eat the proper human diet, as our good friend Ken Berry likes to say. And I think fasting is really great. I say one meal a day. you even go, I'm doing a 3-day fast right now. I've already done 24 hours, and I usually do it once a month. And it clears the bowels.
Yeah.
You got to empty the bowels in order to, so when you eat food, it's always sending the nutrients to the bloodstream. When your gut is empty, it's not.
Well, doesn't it let it heal too? Because it does damage the gut while it's digesting and doing its job, right? So
the glycobiome, or the glycocalyx, that's a sugar layer that protects the gut, protects the skin. Every cell of your body has it.
Yeah.
And there are billions of glycans potential in the glycobiome. It's more diverse than proteins. And it's the damage to the glycocalyx that causes every disease that we suffer from. That's, I think, the game changer, when we realize that the plant sugars are damaging our glycobiome.
Yeah. So eating plants is damaging your body, basically, for all.
100%.
So shifting gears a little bit, like I said, I am a retired soldier, and
God bless you, my friend. Thank you.
well, no, no problem. I enjoyed it. I had a great tour, but the sad reality is that we have a lot of soldier suicides and sailor airmen. We also have a lot of first responder suicides. And I have a theory, and I back it up with some of the things I've read. I've read some studies talking about low blood cholesterol serum levels causing depression, causing mental illness, schizophrenia, bipolar, manic depression, and violent acts, impulsive acts, and suicide. And we actually get, when you're looking at veterans, not just active duty veterans, we get, I think, 22 a day is what they say. And that doesn't count Texas and California, because Texas and California don't include those numbers. They don't add to that number. That's a statistics nationwide. And also there's a lot of ODs out there where people OD'd on drugs and they don't count them as suicides, right? They count them as an addict that OD'd. But a lot of them are self-medicating. And I know I've lost more associates in the military to suicide than to combat, even in these 10 years of war. And I don't think my story is uncommon. So this is the first tool I've ever seen, the first time I feel like I have something in my whole career that I could share with someone that might prevent a suicide. Before, I was just worried people are going to commit suicide. I was like, oh, Memorial Day's coming up. I hope these guys don't. And I just sent a text out, call me if you want to talk to somebody, that kind of stuff. That's all I had. That was it. And hoping they would, right? What's your thoughts on cholesterol and depression, mental illness, and suicide?
Well, cholesterol is part of the building blocks of our cells, of our hormones, of our brain. Fat is critical to eat, and inflammation causes every disease in our bodies, and depression, suicidality, criminality included, are all secondary to plant-based low animal fat diets. So we're forgetting about the criminals at all ages, suicides. All these things are all part of what I believe is a plant-based low animal fat diet. Georgia Ede, Chris Palmer, if you look at these stories out there, that you'll see there's a lot of evidence that carnivore will help tremendously. And I agree with you. It is the game changer. We have to teach people. A friend of mine, great guy, his brother died of suicide. He's putting a lot of money into the helping people that are with mental disorders. And I commend that. I'm hopeful that we're going to start talking more about nutrition. But when we use the word nutrition and healthy, our brain has already been biased to think about fruits and vegetables, lean meat, seeds and nuts, and exercise. That's it, right? And then, you know what? You're genetically predisposed. Let's get a drug. My grandfathers both committed suicides in their 60s. My father was in World War II. He had a lot of post-traumatic stress disorder. He had a lot of depression, a lot of troubles. And I believe that the diet was the leading cause. And if you think about what, again, in the military, I had a military couple at the office today, and we were talking about the woman is pregnant and she was just diagnosed with breast cancer.
Ooh.
And she said she asked the doctor, her breast cancer doctor, a great doctor, if diet matters, and the doctor said no. Now, I don't blame the doctor at all, because I think all of us in the medical field have been taught that in general, diet doesn't matter, but eat a healthy diet. And I had a great conversation with them, and what they are fed in the military is a contributing factor. But we can go back to our childhood and realize that it's not the military only, or it's all of us. And that's what we need to work together to help people. We have a military grant. We give a lot of grants for fertility care, discounts for military first responders at times. So these are things that we can all do better. But I want to teach you the healthy habits that are meant for Homo sapiens. And we can heal those people that are suffering or know someone who has suffering.
Yeah, it's a huge deal. And that's why I have Mission Carnivore, which is another podcast I run, that basically what I do is I interview veterans who've gone carnivore, and some have PTSD, some don't, but all veterans deal with depression and suicidality. And because it's around us all the time, because people in our units die of suicide all the time. So we see it a lot. It's not like a regular job where you don't see it very often. It's very shocking. Right. For us, as soon as someone gets killed, everyone gets called in, and we have our talk, and we watch videos. And the videos invariably are like actors, and they show a guy before he commits suicide and his interactions with everyone around it. And we're supposed to catch the signals that, hey, this guy's going to commit suicide because he gave me this, or he said this. And then it leaves us all thinking, did I screw up? Did I miss it? Is it my fault this guy's dead? And it's a terrible burden. And they put it on all the soldiers.
Well, this is one of the problems in medicine because we're humans. And we are just going along this journey with what we've learned, but we're all imperfect. Even the best pilot, I fly airplanes, I've seen the best pilots die in crashes. Oh, yeah. And so human beings are not good at catching these things because it's just hard to see. And our ability to prevent disease, we cannot prevent these things. What we want to do is give people a chance to minimize the risk, but ultimately to eliminate it. I don't think that's in the human experience.
I know we can put a dent in that number, though, that 22. We can put a huge dent in it. And it's because when people aren't capable of making good mental decisions because their brain's clouded, because they're in pain, because they're depressed, and because of their diet, then they get hit by things and they don't know how to handle it, and they make an impulsive bad decision, providing a permanent solution to a temporary situation. And it's terrible.
I like to talk a lot about faith and the journey, and because we are used to thinking I messed up rather than God's got this. And then we're all learning together and working this together, because what we want to do is, rather than blame others, we want to recognize it's systemic to all of us, blaming all of us, but it's not blame. It's, hey, how can we put together something? And this carnivore diet to me is like the game changer. Wow.
It is totally a game changer. Actually, I interviewed a single mother yesterday or Sunday, and she has a young child with hemophilia, and he's 8 years old. And listen, talking about the mental, she said he started saying, I don't want to live anymore, Mom. I wish I was dead at 8, because he has a heart disease. Right. And now he's been carnivore, and he also had ADHD, anxiety, a lot of other issues going on. So she put him on a carnivore diet against everyone's wishes in her family. And they all said, he needs this. Everyone, teachers, everyone was against her. She put him on this diet, and 9 months later, it's a different kid. He's drug-free, other than his hemophilia, which he has to go in to get transfusions. But he is a completely different child who couldn't get a C before this. Now he's got all A's and B's. A kid who loves going to school and waking up and hugging his mom. It's amazing, right? So this is absolutely the key. I mean, you can take someone in a terrible situation, change their diet if they're on this bad diet, and it'll turn around. My motivation level skyrocketed. My energy level skyrocketed. Everything did. I used to not like doing chores around the house. I love doing chores now. It's like, I'm going to go do this and it's fun. I don't know why, but there was some block there when I was eating that diet.
I grew up with ADHD, OCD, dyslexia, depression, migraines. I loved life, and I think I'm always one that wants to participate, but I wasn't the smart kid. I was like the dumb kid. Now I'm using very,
Right.
But I believe that I don't care what disease it is, it will be either eliminated or improved on carnivore. And hemophilia and many other diseases are inflammatory conditions that damage and disrupt the ability of the blood system to function properly. It's just simple as that. Okay. And so if you are genetically predisposed, now, are you genetically predisposed to fly or walk on land? Are you genetically predisposed to breathe with gills underwater or air with lungs above the water? So your predisposition to eat fatty meat and not eat plants is there. So now if you take someone with any genetic predisposition to some disease and you throw in a plant-based diet, they're screwed.
Yeah. And that's what we saw with her son. And the doctors were telling her, no, because when she first found out he had ADHD and all this other, and the hemophilia, like, does diet matter? Nope, doesn't matter. Even her mom, who's a nurse from the 70s, like, no, it doesn't matter. I mean, because they've been raised in the medical system that teaches them that diet doesn't really matter. So
the hospitals, all of the recovery places, and the mission is not purposeful to hurt people.
Oh yeah, it's not bad people in there.
Right on, right. But even in some ways, I'm just gonna, because I believe even the most people, if the people in the master side believed that meat was bad or good, they're eating a standard diet also.
Right.
And so our job is to recognize that this plant-based paradox is something that we've been dealing with for thousands of years. And will we suddenly all go back to carnivores and roam the earth with spears and arrows and hunting? Not likely.
Yeah.
Okay. And I do occasionally enjoy a little bit of Kiltz's ice cream or maybe some French fries with a lot of sour cream, but I minimize those things.
Yeah.
And because we live in a world where we have cars to look out for, or airplanes and skateboards and skiing and all sorts of things, there's risk in this world.
Yep.
You will improve on carnivore better than you'll ever know from any other diet. Keto's okay. Paleo is okay. Atkins is okay. But ultimately, we know that carnivore is the way.
Yeah, I made some carnivore or some Kiltz's ice cream for Thanksgiving. I hosted a carnivore Thanksgiving. My brother is a carnivore, my sister and her husband, my son, and my neighbor who's a carnivore. So they all came over, and I made eggnog. Watch out, Duke's here. So my dog's here. It's my service dog, Duke. So made some. He's back. Oh no, that's fine. I made some eggnog carnivore ice cream, and what I did is I put a shot of bourbon in it when I made it, and I put some nutmeg and a little bit of stevia, just a little bit to sweeten it a little bit. And it was fantastic. And everyone loved it, man. But yeah, it's not something we eat every day, right? That was a special thing, but it was fine. I mean, I'm not going to die.
If you go back to in the 50s and 60s, and we weren't partying every day with this food. We had we would go over to my aunt and uncles or my grandmother's and have a special Sunday. All right.
Yeah.
And then obviously holidays, but every other day. Now, I wasn't eating as my current purposeful, important diet, but I would say we're getting sicker and sicker more globally because of exactly what you're talking about. I treat cookie, cake, or ice cream from time to time. That's, this is not a snort of cocaine or a little heroin. This is not it. And sometimes I do feel we're a little too dogmatic or like, you better never do that. And I think we label ourselves as food addicts, and we need to stop doing that.
I see a lot of people with the dogma on my page because I posted how to do carnivore for $40 a week for a lot of retirees that follow me that are on fixed. And then I had people give me, because I went to Walmart and I put a spreadsheet up and I took pictures of everything that I was buying. And for $40 a week, you can do a pound of beef and 4 eggs and 2 strips of bacon and as much butter as you want, basically, and salt. And I'm like, there you go. That's what you need to get going. And I had people come at me saying, well, that's not grass fed. Grass fed is just poison, and the salt has this in it. I'm like, listen, we can't let money be an inhibitor of this. If that's what you can afford, you're going to heal on that, because I don't eat grass fed beef. I don't. And I'm sure there's probably a difference. I'm sure there's more omega-3 in there. Great.
I've
I haven't seen the study on it yet, but
I've never seen anyone sick because their omega-3 and 6 ratio was off.
Right.
Okay. It's all bullshit.
Yeah.
And I say it very loosely, and the same thing goes with grass finished or grain finished. They're all grass fed.
Yeah.
They're either grain or grass finished. I love grain finished personally. I think
I like the
marbling, tasty, more fat. So I think we dance around and we box or wrestle with things that are so little important.
Yeah. What's important is getting it done and then being on mission, right? And I always say that, hey, don't let perfection be the enemy of excellence. You can achieve excellence on $40 a week, go do it. And that's my big thing. So that's my message. And most of the people were like, oh my gosh, thank you for the spreadsheet. I've been looking, I've been worried about doing carnivore because of this, and now I'm not. And it's like, okay, we're lowering the barriers. That's what we need to do. Let people know they can live on less than they're eating now, probably on their cost.
I think this is really important to share, because the plant-based diet is so addictive. We want to eat more and more and more of it.
Right.
And vegetables are expensive and they don't last that long.
Yeah. Throw it away too, right? I don't generate any garbage anymore.
Right.
My garbage is tiny.
Nothing. And my poop is small and less frequently. This is the crazy part of this. Everything that I've ever suffered from is like minuscule or gone.
Yeah.
And so I think it's less expensive than people will think. And you don't have to buy expensive, fancy meats. Talk to your butcher or your rancher, buy half a cow with your neighbors and split it up and get more fat. And ultimately, eating adipose tissue is what you want to do. And the butter fat, some people can't tolerate butter or cream. I do my ice cream. I do butter. I do eggs. That's what I really love. And occasionally I'll do a little bit of, I've been off coffee for a year plus. I've kind of back on it a little bit, minimal with a lot of butter and cream, but not much. I do a little bit of chocolate from time to time, not that much. My daily is going to be ribeye steak every day with butter on it.
Yeah, and N equals 1, right? Because for me, coffee, I went back on it and I started getting stiff and I started getting swelling. So for me, coffee caused that. So I'm back off. And I know, but it's good because I went Lion to find out when I add things in. Okay, how's my body reacting? Speaking of the dairy and egg flare-ups, Melissa, one of my group members, 39-year-old female with lupus and hypothalamic amenorrhea. I don't know what that is, but
hypothalamic amenorrhea. That means the brain centers we think are the cause why they're not ovulating and having a regular menstrual period.
Oh, okay. She says, could a Lion diet be sustainable long-term for her? Could hormones be balanced in a case where eggs and dairy cause major flare-ups? Eggs and dairy. So that's her concern.
The question is she carnivore and adding eggs and dairy, or is she still in the Mediterranean side? That's a good one. But absolutely, carnivore heals.
Yeah.
And I believe it's inflammation and glycation. And also the plants contain estrogen, progesterone. So you're essentially suppressing your natural hormonal function. There's no balance to hormones. Women's hormones are never balanced. They go up and down. Cyclicity with the cycle. That's normal. The diseases and damage that women are feeling are secondary to inflammation from a plant-based, protein-based, low-fat diet. That's it. There's a lot of soy that people are consuming. You got to be careful about that. And Pottinger's cats, he fed cats raw milk, unpasteurized, and raw meat versus pasteurized and cooked meat. The cooked and pasteurized animals had significant health problems that were passed on to generation.
Wow.
I believe we're probably not that different, and
Yeah.
we probably would do better on more raw and less cooked. Now, in her case, going carnivore, fatty meat, salt, and water is the top elimination diet. Butter and cream is essentially processed, is it not?
Right, right.
Right. And so the ultimate is going to be lions.
And that's what she asked. Is it sustainable long term for her?
Oh, it's sustainable for every human being
Yeah.
forever, even when you're pregnant and breastfeeding and post-pregnancy. So the answer is a lion diet for a lion sustainable? Well, yes, it is. Are you a lion wolf-like, or are you pig, cow, and sheep-like?
Yeah.
So these ideas are so radical. And many of my patients, they go from me on either a keto carnivore, and their doctor says, no, don't do those. And they call me up or text me, and I'm hoping to help them on that journey. But I think that it's the most sustainable thing that anyone can ever do. And if she's looking to get pregnant, she'll feel better. And absolutely.
Cool. I mean, all we got to do is look at our eyes, right? We know we're more like a wolf than a cow.
We are looking this way rather than this way.
Right. That's pretty apparent.
What's going to attack me? Right?
Exactly.
We're here.
We're like, what are we focused on? What am I eating today? Right.
And if you think and look at our evolution, we, again, out of the trees to eat the grass eaters, not the grass.
Right.
And it's likely through the difficulty of hunting and the success of human hunters in early evolution that we limited the hunt. And there may have been a tremendous amount of climate changes that affected the hunt also. And then we're like, well, I can eat these tubers or berries and things, and I survived. Some people died from that. Mm-hmm. Mushrooms are highly poisonous, by the way. And so I think through our evolution, we realized, hey, I can live on plants, and we were able to live through reproduction. So as long as you're reproducing, you're successful. Yeah. Now, what we've seen in the evolution of tremendous number of bacterial and viral diseases that have spread across humanity, and we've seen it recently, I believe that you're more at risk as a plant-based eater of the diseases brought forth by the bacteria, yeast, and viruses. You're less susceptible to the diseases if you're in the carnivore side.
Yeah, and that's been my experience. I mean, I haven't been sick yet, so since March, and normally I would be sick in the summer at least once, and I wasn't. So
I went to a meeting, went to a Russian restaurant for dinner. It was wonderful. They had a huge spread, and I ate some things. It was all animal products, but I ate some things that didn't do well for me the next day. But I did my water, I did some meditation and cold water work, and I felt better after that. But I think we have to be very careful, because as a carnivore that eats a very narrow diet, you have to be careful of other meat products or animal products that might send you in a little bit of tizzy. But I have not had those viruses that everyone's had at all.
Yeah, my body just feels like I've had a couple of days where I felt like something was coming on, and I took some extra vitamin D those days.
Yep.
And then next day I woke up feeling totally 100%. I'm like, okay, well, that was not what I thought it was. Where I thought like I had a tingle in my throat, or you know how you feel when you get in the beginning of a sickness.
Bone, liver, I think are really important. And if you want to, and again, if you eat the adipose by eating the butter, which comes with A, D, E, and K, the fat soluble vitamins, you'll be much better.
Well, hey, I don't want to take up all your time. I know we agreed to an hour, so I appreciate your time. One question real quick. Are you going to, or do you know if you're going to go to the KetoCon? They're calling it Hack Your Health this year, I think.
I'm going to be in Austin. I'm not sure I'm speaking, but I'm on a panel. Okay. They want to keep me quiet a little bit, I think.
Well, my son and I will be there. My son's going to be there too. So we'll look for you.
I look forward to seeing you. Yeah, I enjoy this. I'd love to do an interview with you, by the way, and share what you guys have. Again, you don't need a degree anymore
Yeah.
to be a healthcare specialist.
Yeah. I
And,
guess not, right? You just got to do research. I mean, that's what I tell people when I was in college. Right now, I'm a wireless network architect. I manage a network with 11,000 access points, 100,000 devices. Listen, none of that stuff existed when I was in college. The internet was the ARPANET. There was no phones. There was no wireless. So if I had to learn everything in university to make my profession, I didn't. So I went to Barnes and Noble University. I learned on my own. I just dug in on stuff that interested me and became an expert.
and the beauty of knowledge today, the best thing was the Gutenberg press,
Yeah.
and then the James King Henry James Bible, and the sharing of knowledge that wasn't shared, and getting into college or a medical school or law school or business school required entrance exams, and
Right.
then you had to be allowed in. But no longer is knowledge controlled by the few.
Right.
And so I listen to my patients all the time. They bring me ideas. The internet is it.
Yeah.
The devices wherever my phone is, I don't know, our devices are so that, yeah, we're like this is, and
Yep.
my patients can get a hold of me on that device.
Yeah.
And so I hail the ability to simply learn from the N of one.
Yeah.
And if we have infinite ends of one, we realize that why are we keep on looking to the scientists and the doctors to give us the answer when Rob Kiltz and Larry, a carnivore soldier, can help bring on people that have experienced the healing?
Right.
And that's
This
what we
is-
really want to do.
This is our Copernicus moment, our Galileo moment, right? Where we're saying, hey, guess what? The world's not the center of the galaxy, guys. And no one's going to believe it at first, but it will shift.
And we're in a country that has more access and freedom to share these things.
Mm-hmm.
There are many countries that you don't have that. And our job is to keep putting it out there. And our languages need to be converted to the languages of the world that everyone can listen and learn together.
Right.
And we need to work to put down the weapons and to listen to each other and learn from each other. Whether you're a ketovore, or whether you're a vegan, vegetarian, Mediterranean, pescatarian, carnivorian, whatever your religion or politics are, we need to listen and learn together. And I think that'll build tremendous positivity and helping. And when you're a carnivore, things make more sense, don't they?
Yeah, they do. Everything starts making sense. All right, Doc. Hey, I appreciate your time. I'm going to drop you out. Thanks for stopping by.
Larry.
And I look forward to meeting you at KetoCon.
All right. Look forward to it. God bless you. Look forward to
Yeah.
talking soon. Take care.
Yeah. Bye. All right, guys. We had a great talk there with Dr. Kiltz. He's an amazing man, an amazing thought leader in the carnivore lifestyle, and an educated doctor that knows what he's talking about. Obviously, a hormone specialist, reproductive specialist, and just a fantastic source. So I want to thank you guys for watching. Hey, if you guys find value in my videos, please like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you find out when my new videos come out, and watch them when they come out. And check out carnivoresoldier.com, where I have all kinds of helpful links. And I actually have a carnivore diet planning guide there that you can download. So thanks a lot, guys. All I got to say is stay strong and overcome. Carnivore Soldier out.